Hello, hello, hello. I'm losing a little weight. My shirts are looking like big. Anyway, Sir David the Bard, and I'm coming to you from Camarillo, California. I love the beach here. Camarillo Beach is always said to be the safest beach in the world. Regardless of the floating bodies that I've seen out there, it's still the safest. Anyway, I love Camarillo Beach. I love to camp down there. Camping sites are right by the beach. You can go over. And I used to come up here when I was in high school. And we told the girls that we were going grunion hunting. Little did they know the grunion was in their panties. I don't think there's any such thing as grunions. Anyway, we would bring them up here, and then we would sit in the dark and watch the waves and see the grunions coming in. Well, a lot of you say, where are you? I'm here. I'm here. God, you know, this is not a full-time job, and you people do get what you pay for. So don't make me feel guilty. You're triggering the old Mormon response in me. Guilt is one of the things that the Mormon Church does so well. So anyway, it's been a little bit quiet, but I have come across some cult information. Now, the Mormon Church continues to say they are not a cult. Now, you know, no matter what you say to Mormons, it doesn't matter. They believe what they want to believe. This may be arduous, but here is a list of leaders who are cult leaders. Now, the Mormons will say, oh, that's not true. That's not true. Well, let me tell you something. I was in that church corporation over 50 years. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. I know what I was taught. So what I'm going to do, not to prove it's a cult, because you can't do that. You can't prove that Mormonism is a cult, and they're glad for that, because they're not going to believe you no matter what you say. But let me give you my experience in the Mormon Church. The leader has a grandiose idea of who he is and what he can achieve. Okay? President Monson believes he is the only living prophet on the face of the earth and has keys to the celestial kingdom and the keys to all of the priesthood. Sorry. Number one, against the Mormons. Number two, he's preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, and brilliance. If that ain't Monson, I don't know who it is. Monson was the president of Beneficial Life Insurance Company. He bankrupted it. It went bankrupt. So, two, against the Mormons. He is preoccupied with fantasies and unlimited success. He thinks he's going to Kolob, and he's leading the rest of the following Mormons. Demands blind, unquestioned obedience. Oh, is that the Mormon Church? Once the authorities have spoken, the discussion stops. There it is. That's their quote. Once the authorities or the prophet speaks, the discussion is stopped. Number three. They lose on number three. Number four, requires excessive admiration from followers and outsiders. You wear a damn suit and tie in their presence and your magic underwear, and when the conference is over, you all stand up in respect so that Monson can leave the stage. If that ain't against the Mormons again, hey, nothing's going to convince anybody. Has a sense of entitlement, expecting to be treated special at all times. Well, Gordon Hinckley never had a job. He worked for the Mormon Church his whole life. I think he worked on the railroad for a few years when he was young. The rest of the time, he lived off of tithing money. Entitlement, you bet. Monson's doing the same thing right now, living off of the Mormon entitlement monies. Is exploitative of others by asking for their money, or that their relatives putting others at financial risk. Well, I wonder what genealogy is. I wonder what the church says when it comes to old people leaving money behind rather than leaving it to your family and to your children. You leave it to the Mormon church. Exploitive? Good Lord. Constant exploitation. The ensign saying that the mother that couldn't feed her children should pay her tithing first. Mormon churches loses on number 6. 7 is arrogant and haughty in his behavior or attitude. Well, when he got sued in England, he didn't even show up. He just sent his attorneys. Arrogant, haughty. Did you see him cutting the ribbon at City Creek Mall? And then he was doing the Jesus, pay lay ale. Oh God, hear the words of my mouth. Let's go shopping. That's Monson, Thomas S. Monson, president of the Mormon Church. Haughty, yeah. They lose on number 7. Has exaggerated sense of power and entitlement that turns him in to bend rules and break laws. That's a summary of the Mormon Church. Allows him to bend rules. Okay, the general authorities don't have to pay tithing. That bends the rules. Their children get to go to BYU for free. You pay for that, you Mormons that are paying tithing. And break the laws? Gee, like the law of polygamy? Yes. Like the law of civil rights in the blacks in 1978 in the precinct? Yeah. How about women's rights, ERA? Yeah. How about gay rights right now? Yeah. So they lose on number 8. 9. Takes sexual advantage of members of his sect or cult. Joseph Smith jumps off the page. 14-year-old girls. Helen Marr, 14. Nancy Winchester, 14. The 16-year-old from Canada that he became the guardian of, and her $2,000 she brought with her, and 30 other married women he had for his wives. Does the Mormon Church lose on number 9? Yeah, number 9 is gone. 10. Sex is a requirement with adults and sub-adults as part of a ritual or rite. Well, what is the temple? Well, is it sex? Is it pre-sex? It's certainly pre-sex. The 5 points of fellowship: hand to hand, mouth to ear, breast to breast, knee to knee, and inside foot to inside foot. I don't know. Looks like you could bend this one a little bit, bend this one a little bit. Okay, number 11. Hypersensitive to how he is seen or perceived by others. Have you seen the comment by, I think it's Boy K. Packer. He's next in line to be the idiot clown prophet of the Mormon Church. And he says something like, truth is not very helpful. In his occupation, he's right. Truth is not very helpful. And the other comment, I'm trying to think how others perceive them. I think it was Holland that said, you know, there's no evil speaking of the Lord's anointed. Now, that's a temple comment. That's in the ritual of the temple. There's no evil speaking of the Lord's anointed, whoever they are. But the authorities are very, very sensitive that you do not criticize them, and they're always right. Okay, number 11, they lose. 12, publicly devalues others as being inferior, incapable, or not worthy. Did Joseph Smith say that Jesus said, all other religions are an abomination before me? Jesus. If that's not a cult comment, and the church always taught me that the Catholic Church was the great and abominable church. So devaluing others, you bet. You bet. And talk to a missionary about Jehovah's Witness. There's not a missionary in the world that doesn't hate Jehovah's Witness. Not worthy. So they lose on 12. Number 13. Makes members confess their sins or faults, publicly subjecting them to ridicule or humiliation while revealing exploitable weaknesses of the penitent. When I was raised in Ojai, California, when someone got excommunicated from the church, they sent all the women out of the room, and only the men could hear this. So the ladies had their glasses against the wall, and the president or the bishop would get up and say, well, Brother Smith has been excommunicated from the church because he was screwing Sister Nelson. He loses his job in the church. He could lose his job in the community in Utah. He had to confess, and you know damn well you can't get a temple recommend unless you confess how many times you masturbate, and the young girls have to tell the bishop how many times and in what position they masturbate to get a temple recommend. So don't tell me this isn't true. It is true. Ridicule and humiliation, you bet your ass it is. Number 4, so they lose on 13. 14, has ignored the needs of others, including biological, physical, emotional, and financial needs. Would you think that maybe the general authorities of the Mormon Church pulling down 6-figure incomes and to become a general authority, it's generally believed that they're given $1 million to become a general authority and then a 6-figure income? Well, does that money go to the Philippines and the poor children? No. Does it go to Africa? No. You know, the people of the Mormon Church try to donate cans of food and whatever, but the authorities and their multi-billion-dollar corporation, the City Creek Mall, was built by the Mormons. In fact, the Mormons own all the land that the City Creek Mall sits on, and it was $4 to $5 billion. And the condos that they can't sell still was again another $1 billion. And that money didn't go for the poor. It went for the rich, and it went for the authorities of the church. So 14 they lose on is frequently boastful and accomplishments. You ever been to conference and they quote each other like they're the text of the Bible? Hey, been there, done that, seen it, heard it. Frequently boastful of accomplishments. 16, needs to be the center of attention and does things to distract others to ensure that he or she is being noticed by arriving late, using exotic clothing, over-dramatic speech, or by making theatrical entrances. Well, if that ain't the Mormon elders and the Mormon monson coming into general conference, I don't know what is. And then everyone sings the song, "We thank thee, O God, for a prophet." He's got his own song. So the Mormons again lose on 16. 17, has insisted in always being the best of anything: house, car, jewelry, clothes, even when others are neglected to lesser facilities, amenities, or clothing. Well, all of the general authorities, I think, maybe there's one that doesn't have a second home. They all have second homes. The mission presidents have a beautiful home and a free car, a free new car, and gardening, and again, 5 or 6-figure income. I'm not sure what their income level is there. So 16, they're screwed on. 17, has insisted in always having the best. That's one I just did. 18, doesn't seem to listen well to the needs of others. Communication is usually one way, in the form of dictates. If that ain't the Mormon Church, I don't know what is. I raised my hand once. It was in gospel doctrine class, and we were in there with a lot of adults, and they were going around talking something about the family and sexuality and sacredness of garments and that kind of stuff. And the teacher was making some kind of a point about it doesn't matter, you can do these things, but it's not really going to make a difference. And so the bard, son of a bitch, he raises his hand, and I say in an LDS gospel doctrine meeting, is that like mental masturbation? It feels good, but nothing really happens. You would think that, you know, an atomic bomb had gone off in the front of the room. You don't ask questions in the Mormon Church. They tell you what to wear, what to drink, what to eat, how to vote. It goes on and on. So, number 18, so one-way communication, you bet. 19, haughtiness, grandiosity, and the need to be controlling is part of his personality. Well, if that ain't Monson, if that ain't Joseph Smith said he did, no, it wasn't Joseph Smith, but it's been said Joseph Smith had done more for the salvation of man, except one person, Jesus Christ. Jesus. So I say Jesus Christ. If that doesn't fit, it fits. Is part of his personality. Behaves as though people are objects to be used, manipulated, and exploited for personal gain. Well, if that isn't the Mormon missionary program trying to get more money and tithe payers in, I don't know what is. 21. When criticized, he tends to lash out, not just with anger, but with rage. Well, we've seen that with a couple of general authorities. Holland, Lying for the Lord tape, and we've seen, well, Joseph Smith constantly not purging, but putting people away from him, screaming Jesus Christ and whatever. And so we've seen Joseph rage many times. 22. Anyone who criticizes or questions him is called an enemy. Boy, there's the Mormon church. You're either in the church or you're an apostate or an enemy. It is always us and them. Us and them. 23 refers to non-members as non-believers in him as the enemy. Well, here I am, the enemy. I'm an atheist now and a non-believer, and so I was shunned before. Now I'm really shunned. Anyway, 23 they lose on. 24, acts impervious at times, not wishing to know what others think or desire. You know, in this conference, I don't know what authority said it, but he said that prophets may not be popular. When they're stealing your money and your land and won't tell you where your money goes, that runs on the area of popularity. So they don't care what others think or desire. Believes himself to be omnipotent. Okay, he thinks he talks with Jesus Christ. He says he's the prophet. Hinckley said that to Walter Cronkite, that he's supported and upheld as the prophet of the Mormon Church, seeing Christ. He didn't say seeing Christ, but he said upheld as a prophet. 26, has magical answers or solutions to problems. Well, if the priesthood of the Mormon Church isn't that, I don't know what is. The blessing of the sick and the healing of the sick and the raising of the dead. The raising of the dead usually happens right after sacrament meeting, when the janitor walks through, which is now the people, and wakes up all the old people. 27 is superficially charming. Boy, I'll tell you, Brigham Young and Joseph Smith and Monson, all of those things. 28, habitually puts down others as inferior, and only he is superior. There it is, you know. The Mormons are going to be the ones that get into heaven. Everybody else is inferior. You don't join us, you're going to be on the outside, and you're going to be slaves and servants. 29, has a certain coldness or aloofness about him that makes others worry about who this person really is and whether they really know him. That's every general authority in the Mormon Church right there. Number 30, is deeply offended when they are perceived signs of boredom, being ignored, or being slighted. Have you ever been in a sacrament meeting where either the bishop or the stake president calls on members of the audience to come up and bear their testimony, and you're sitting there like a monster could jump upon you any moment? You don't sleep. You don't sleep if you think they're going to call your name. Well, there's 30 of them right there. I'm going to go ahead and put up this as a link. Okay, I'll come back and copy it for you. But anyway, I don't want to make it too arduous and too long, but there's 50 of them. There's 20 more. If you've had anything to do with the Mormon Church, you know it's a cult, and there it is. There's leaders, educated people saying this is the way cults work. So anyway, if you read that, you'll have health in the navel, marrow in the bone, strength in the loins and the sinews, power to priesthood be upon me and upon my posterity through all generations of time and throughout all eternity. Bard's gone.